The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. Tonight, you don't need to stay awake. You don't need to follow every word. You don't need to understand what happens. Just listen. This is a quiet story. A slow one. The kind that unfolds gently, like a thought drifting in and out of sleep. It takes place in an old house, far from the noise of the world, where nothing seems wrong at first. 2 children live there. They are calm. They are beautiful. They appear perfectly safe. And yet, something watches. Not loudly, not suddenly. It waits. You don't need to be afraid. Nothing will jump out. Nothing will raise its voice. The story will simply move along, quietly. And if you fall asleep before it ends, that's exactly as it should be. So get comfortable. Let your breathing slow. The fire is low. The night is long. And the story is about to begin. Introduction. We were sitting around the fire. The room was warm. The night outside was not. The story had ended, but no one spoke at once. It felt as though the house itself were still listening. Someone finally said it was a terrible tale. Gruesome. Just right for Christmas Eve in an old place like this. Then another voice added something else. Something worse. It was the only story he knew where such a thing had happened to a child. That changed the feeling in the room. The child, he said, had woken screaming. There was someone in the room, watching. His mother tried to calm him, tried to tell him it was only a dream, until she saw it too. That was when Douglas looked up. He had been quiet all evening, hardly listening, as if he had been waiting. Yes, he said, a child makes it more disturbing. Then he paused. But I know a story that goes further. We leaned closer. If one child gives the tale another turn of the screw, he said, what would you say to 2? No one laughed. No one but me has ever heard it, he went on. It's too dreadful. That, of course, only made us want it more. It's written, he said, in an old hand. A woman's. He did not say her name at first. She's been dead many years. The manuscript was locked away, unopened, waiting. When he finally began to read, the fire had burned low. The room was silent. And this is the story he told us. Chapter 1. I remember the beginning as uncertain. Hope, followed by doubt, confidence, then fear. After agreeing to the position, I spent 2 unhappy days in London. I was sure I had made a mistake. The journey to the country was long and tiring. The coach swayed and rattled for hours. I sat alone with my thoughts. By late afternoon, a carriage was waiting for me. The day was warm. The countryside was green and gentle. As we approached the house, my courage returned. I had expected something gloomy. Instead, the place looked bright. Wide windows, fresh curtains, flowers on the lawn. It was large, larger than I had imagined. A woman came to the door with a little girl at her side. She curtsied to me as though I were someone important. The child held her hand. She was very still, very beautiful. From that moment, my spirits lifted. That night, I hardly slept. The room I was given was grand. Too grand, I thought, for someone like me. A large bed, tall mirrors, heavy curtains. I could see myself fully for the first time. It felt as though I had stepped into another life. I rose more than once during the night. I looked out at the darkened house. I listened. Once, I thought I heard a child cry. Once, I thought someone passed my door. But the sounds faded. I told myself it was nothing. The next morning, I was formally introduced to the little girl. Her name was Flora. She was gentle, bright, radiant. I had never seen such a child. Mrs. Gross, the housekeeper, watched me carefully. She seemed pleased, almost relieved. We got on at once. She spoke of the boy, the brother. He was at school. He would return soon. He's remarkable, she said, if you think well of her. I believed her. That day, I spent entirely with Flora. She showed me the house, every room, every corridor. She was fearless. She ran ahead of me through empty spaces, up staircases that made me dizzy, into towers that rose high above the trees. To her, the house was a place of play. To me, it felt vast. By evening, we were fast friends. At supper, she sat across from me, calm and angelic. Mrs. Gross watched us both. There were things we did not say aloud. Later, alone again, I lay awake. The night was quiet, too quiet. Still, I told myself this was happiness. This was the life I had hoped for. The next day passed easily. Only in the evening did something change. A letter arrived. It was from my employer. Inside, it was another letter, addressed to him, unopened. He instructed me to read it. I did so that night. It was from the boys' school. They were dismissing him, not for the holidays, forever. No details were given, only regret. I did not sleep at all. The next morning, I showed the letter to Mrs. Gross. She could not read it. I explained. Her face changed. They won't have him, she asked. No. She began to cry. What has he done? She whispered. I could not answer. All day, I watched Flora. She was perfect. The idea that her brother could be corrupt felt impossible. When Mrs. Gross spoke again, her voice was firm. "See him first," she said. "Then judge." I agreed. Chapter 2. 2 days later, we went to meet Miles. Flora came with me. The road was quiet. The fields were bright. I tried to keep my mind steady. But the letter from the school sat in my thoughts like a stone. I spoke to Mrs. Gross again. "What does it mean?" I asked. "They have dismissed him." She looked at me. Then she looked away. "They won't take him back?" she said. "They refuse," I told her. Tears rose in her eyes. "What has he done?" she asked. I hesitated. The headmaster had given no details, only the decision, only the shame, implied but not explained. "It can mean only one thing," I said at last. She did not ask me to say it. She already feared it. "That he harmed the others," I said. "That he is an injury." Mrs. Gross flared at once. "Master Miles," she cried. "Him?" Her certainty startled me. Her faith was so complete it made the accusation feel absurd. "He's barely 10, she said. "Yes," I answered. It would be unbelievable. She held to that. "See him first," she repeated, "then believe it." I wanted, suddenly, to see him with a painful urgency, to put my eyes on him, to settle it. That afternoon I found Flora at the schoolroom door. She had slipped away from her task without guilt. She only wanted to be near me. Her face was innocent. Her gaze was clear. I kissed her hard, as if I could apologize to her for what I had thought of her brother. Later, on the staircase, I stopped Mrs. Gross again. "I take what you said as your proof," I told her, "that you have never known him to be bad." She threw her head back. "Oh, never known him," she said. "I don't claim that." It unsettled me. "Then you have known him to be—" "Yes," she said simply, "and thank God." I blinked. Then I understood what she meant. "A boy who is never naughty," she said, "is no boy for me." I almost laughed. "So you like spirit," I said. "So do I." "But not," I added, "to the point of corruption." She stared. Then she gave an odd little laugh. "Are you afraid he'll corrupt you?" she asked. The question was bold. It knocked the solemnity out of me for a moment. But the worry returned the next day. I asked about the former governess, the one who had died. Mrs. Gross said she had been young, pretty, almost as young as I was. I asked if she had died at the house. "No," she said. "She went away." "Went away to die?" Mrs. Gross looked out the window. She spoke carefully, as if each word mattered. The governess had left for a short holiday. She had the right to it. A nursemaid took the children for the interval. And then the governess never returned. The master later wrote to say she was dead. Of what? I asked. He never told me, Mrs. Gross said. And she turned back to her work. Chapter 3. When Miles arrived, I knew at once the letter was wrong. He stood at the inn door, waiting, watching for us. He looked small and composed, too composed. Then he smiled, and the world, for a moment, felt simple again. He was beautiful, not only in face, in presence. He had an air that suggested only love, only sweetness, only trust. It was almost unbearable. I brought him home. Flora clung to him, delighted. I felt something in me loosen. Relief, tenderness. The ugly letter was still in my room, locked away, but it no longer seemed real. When I could speak privately to Mrs. Gross, I said what I believed. It's grotesque, I told her. It can't be true. Look at him. She smiled, as if I had finally learned what she had always known. I decided to answer nothing. Nothing to the school. Nothing to his uncle. Nothing to Miles himself. Mrs. Gross agreed. We'll see it out, she said. I took her hand. I repeated it. We'll see it out. And we meant it. The days filled quickly. Lessons were planned, but rarely followed. Summer took over. The children were gentle, almost too gentle. There was nothing to punish, nothing to correct. Miles never spoke of school, never named a master, never mentioned another boy. I did not ask. I did not want those details in the house. I told myself he had been dismissed because he was different, because he was finer than the others, because the world is always cruel to what it cannot understand. I knew, even then, that I was under a spell, but I accepted it. The spell was soothing. It made everything else smaller. I had trouble at home. Letters arrived with worries I could not solve. But here, at Bly, I could pretend none of it mattered. I began to love the house, its grounds, its long summer evenings. After the children were in bed, I had what I called my hour. I would walk alone, just a little, breathing the air, listening to the birds. And in that quiet, another thought began to visit me. A childish thought, a foolish thought, that it would be pleasant to meet someone, to have someone appear on the path, to look at me kindly, to approve, not to speak, not even to explain, only to know, to see. One evening, at the end of a long day, I came out of the trees and looked toward the house. And there he was, a man, standing on the tower. For a breath, I thought it was my employer, the handsome gentleman from Harley Street. Then I knew it was not. The shock came in two waves. First, the shock of seeing a figure where there should have been none. Then, the shock of recognizing that he was a stranger in my place, a stranger in my charge. He stood still, bareheaded, hands on the stone ledge. He looked down at me. The air seemed to empty itself of sound. The rooks stopped calling. The evening went silent. The man's face was clear as a portrait. He did not speak. He only watched. Then, slowly, he moved along the battlements, still watching me. His hand slid from stone to stone as he went, as if he belonged there. He reached the far corner, paused, turned away, and then he was gone. That was all I knew. Chapter 4. I did not speak of it that night. I came back to the house in darkness. I met Mrs. Gross in the hall. She had missed me. She was relieved to see me. Her face was open, comforting, and empty of knowledge. It stopped me. I had intended to tell her at once, but with her eyes on me, I hesitated. I said something vague about the beauty of the evening, about damp grass, about getting my feet wet. Then I went to my room. There, alone, it felt worse. For days after, I had to shut myself away to think. Who had been on the tower? I searched for simple explanations. A traveller? A trespasser? Some curious visitor in an old house? Someone had slipped in, taken the view, and slipped out again. I told myself we would never see him again. I tried to return to my work. The children helped. They were constant delight. They made ordinary life feel like romance. Still, the question remained. How could there be a man in the house grounds whom no one knew? How long had he been there? How often? How close? The fear was faint. Not yet a scream. More like a shadow at the edge of hearing. A hush in which something waits. Chapter 5. A Sunday came with heavy rain. Church was cancelled. Then, late in the day, the weather eased. Mrs. Gross and I planned to go to the evening service. I went into the dining room to retrieve my gloves. The room was dim. The window was shut. I crossed the threshold, and I saw him. He was outside the window, close to the glass, looking in. It was the same man. For an instant my breath left me. He was only there for a few seconds. But in those seconds I knew two things. First, that he saw me, that he recognized me. And second, that he was not looking for me. His gaze shifted. It moved across the room. It fixed on something beyond me, as if he waited, as if he searched. I felt a sudden, sharp burst of courage. I ran. I rushed out of the room and out of the house. I went around the terrace. I turned the corner. Nothing. The lawn was empty. The garden was empty. The park beyond was empty. No hiding place felt possible. Either he was there, or he was not. And he was not. I went back to the window. I stood where he had stood. I pressed my face to the pane and looked into the room. As if to show me exactly what he had seen, Mrs. Gross entered. She saw me at the window, and she stopped short. Her face went white. I understood then, with a cold clarity, what I looked like. When she came around to me outside, she was breathless. "What is the matter?" she asked. I touched my own face. "Do I show it?" I said. "You're white as a sheet," she said. "You look awful." I told her. I said I had been frightened. I said there was a man. Looking in. She stared, confused. Then slowly, something changed in her eyes. She asked what he looked like. I described him. No hat. Red hair. A pale, long face. Small, fixed eyes. Thin lips. Smart clothes, but not his own. And as I spoke, I watched Mrs. Gross understand. Her mouth opened slightly. Her breath caught. "They're the masters," she said. Then she said a name. "Quint," she whispered. "Peter Quint." I repeated it. "Quint?" "He was the master's man," she said. "His valet. When he was here." "And now?" I asked. Mrs. Gross stared past me, as if she were afraid of the answer. Then she said it. "He died." "Died?" I said. "Yes," she told me. "Mr. Quint is dead." Chapter 6. After that night, nothing was the same, yet nothing changed at once. Mrs. Gross and I spoke quietly. We promised to watch. We promised not to frighten the children. She had seen nothing herself. Not once. Not even a shadow. Still, she believed me. We agreed on one thing. Whatever had appeared, it wanted the children. That knowledge settled heavily between us. Days passed. The children were unchanged, bright, affectionate, untroubled. Miles was especially gentle. Too gentle. He watched me often, as if listening for something I had not said. At night, I listened more carefully. Every sound mattered. Footsteps, voices, silence. The house seemed to hold its breath. Chapter 7. It happened again at the lake. Flora and I were walking. The day was clear. The water was still. She stopped suddenly. She looked across the lake. I followed her gaze. On the far bank, a woman stood. She was dressed in black. Her face was pale. Her eyes were fixed on the child. She did not move. She did not speak. I stepped forward. When I looked again, she was gone. Flora laughed. She skipped stones. She saw nothing. But I had seen her. And I knew. Chapter 8. I told Mrs. Gross. She listened. Her face closed. She was wearing black? She asked. Yes, I said. And she stared? Yes. Mrs. Gross sat heavily. It's Miss Jessel, she said. The former governess. She's dead, I said. Yes, Mrs. Gross answered. She died after she left. The room felt colder. 2 of them now. 2 figures. Both dead. And both watching. Chapter 9. From that point, I watched the children constantly. I spoke gently. I smiled. I pretended nothing was wrong. But I waited. Miles asked questions, careful ones. Why do you watch us so? He asked once. Because I love you, I said. He smiled, but his eyes stayed serious. At night, I dreamed of footsteps, of faces at windows. Always watching, always silent. Chapter 10. One evening, Miles played the piano. The music was loud, deliberate. Flora slipped from the room. I followed her. She ran ahead, out of the house, toward the lake. The woman in black stood there again, closer this time. I cried out. I pointed. Flora turned. She saw nothing. Her face hardened. You're cruel, she said. You frighten me. She covered her eyes. She screamed. Mrs. Gross came running. The child was taken away that night. Chapter 11. Only Miles remained. He seemed calm. Too calm. You wanted me alone, he said. I told him the truth, that I had seen Quint, that Quint wanted him. Miles listened. His face changed. He comes to me, Miles said. At night. My heart stopped. What does he say? I asked. Miles hesitated. He tells me things, he said. Things I shouldn't know. Chapter 12. I held him. I begged him to tell me everything. The room felt close, airless. Say his name, I said. Say it. Miles struggled. His breath came fast. Peter Quint, he cried. At that moment, I felt it. The presence, the watching. Miles went still in my arms. Very still. His heart had stopped. Outside, the air was empty. The watching had ended.